Today we're going to study SD 46.2 Pacchā bhūma gāmikā Deva daha Sutta S 22.2. The title means the Deva daha discourse on the West Country residents, those of the West Country. Pacchā means west, bhūma means ground, country area if you like. Gāmikā, those people who live in that area. And the name of the sutta is Deva daha, because the sutta is given at the town of Deva daha. Now if we look around today at the world religions, the major world religions, Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, and also Buddhism. We can also add Judaism. These are the major world religions. What is interesting or troubling about all these world religions that is affecting everyone in the world, so to speak, people who can read the newspapers, or worst of all, people who are living in those countries where these religions are dominant, you will see that there are a lot of turmoil, a lot of killing, destruction, and terrible things. Some of these problems even extend to our very doorsteps in Europe, in America, and in other places. And all because of religion. It's our world religions. They have been going on for centuries with all kinds of very profound teachings. And yet, many people who are followers of this religion are creating so much problems and destruction for other people. What is wrong here, we might say? Don't all these religions teach peace? All the religious leaders in these religions would proclaim that they are teaching peace. And yet all these troubles still continue. Even Buddhism, you find in Myanmar, at one point even Sri Lanka, there are racial problems, racial riots, and killing, and so on. There's something to really think about. However, if you carefully read the Buddha's teachings, you will begin to see that actually there is no excuse at all for any kind of racial problems, any kind of violence at all. And today's sutta is one such text that talks about peace and practice and why we should do good. Now this is the whole essence of Buddhism. Number one, it is simple. The teachings are very simple. Number two, the teachings are about us individually. We can make an effort to be at peace with ourselves, to be happy, self-effort, internal effort, not relying on external agencies. And the answer, the fruit of spirituality can be enjoyed, can be experienced right here and now. We don't have to wait for the future. So this sutta is telling us why we should do good rather than bad. The Pacchā bhūma gāmikā Deva daha Sutta. The sutta starts off with a group of monks who are going west, far west of Buddha land, and so they're saying we're taking leave of the Buddha. Okay, let me just read a bit of the sutta to give us a taste of the sutta. The Deva daha discourse on the West Country residents. Thus have I heard, at one time the Blessed One was dwelling amongst the Sakyas. There was a market town of the Sakyas named Deva daha. it's from this town that you get a sutta title. And in other words, the teaching was given there. The sutta continues, then some monks who were bound for the West, or living for the West, approached the Blessed One, saluted him, and then settled at one side. And then they tell the Buddha, we Bhante wish to go to the West Country. We're taking up residence in the West Country. Right? So this is outside the ring, so they're going to the West to teach, practice. Then the Buddha says, have you bhikshus taken leave of Sāriputta? Right, so this is the key idea here at the start. So the monk said, oh no, we've not done that. Then the Buddha says, why don't you take leave of Sāriputta? He's a very wise monk. He surely has something to tell you. So they went to look for Sāriputta, and the sutta says, section 4, now at that time the Venerable Sāriputta was sitting near a certain clump of candle bush, not far from the Blessed One. So the commentary says, well, he's sitting under a kind of shade. Candle bush, according to the dictionaries we have, the PED and Margaret Cohn's DP, or Dictionary of Pali, they identify as Cassia Tora. The DP also adds the name Cassia alata. It is possible that this plant is what we call Senatora, a wild weed-like medicinal herb. So I'm not really sure exactly what this plant is, but it's a kind of bush. Here it shows that the monks like Sāriputta, they are very often sitting in nature in some peaceful place near some trees or plants. So they went to see Sāriputta and took leave. And Sāriputta, of course, asked them, where are you going? And they said they're going to the West Country. So here begins the advice that Sāriputta gives. It says, section 7, also there are those who would question a monk who has gone to a different kingdom. They are wise kshatriyas, wise brahmins, wise house lords, wise recluse. For also wise humans are investigators who ask, what does the Venerable's teacher say of this? What does he say of that? So I hope you Venerables have learned the teachings well, grasped them well, attended to them well, remembered them well, penetrated them well with wisdom. Right? So that when you go to some far country or anywhere, wise people ask Dhamma questions. What does your teacher teach? What have you learned? So you got to tell them from your own experience. Notice here how the Buddha, how Sāriputta defines learning. He doesn't just say book learning. He doesn't talk about having a degree. I mean, nowadays, if someone has studied the sutta carefully in a monastery, not many people will bother about it. Or they care, someone has got an MA, PhD, and wow, people get excited and then think that they know a lot about Buddhism, but that need not be the case. So here, Sāriputta says, first of all, you should be learned in the teachings you've studied. Number 2, grasp them well, understood what you have read, understand the Dhamma very well, attend to them well, in other words, practice those teachings, and then remember those teachings, and finally penetrate them with wisdom. In other words, those teachings have changed our lives. Right? Unfortunately, we find today there are many monks who go for academic studies, and that's the beginning of the loss of their spiritual life. They live like lay people, follow lay people's routine. They forget a lot of things about their monastic life, and they go around with that title rather than with the Dhamma that they have learned, the Dhamma that has changed your life, and so on. So this is what the Sutta is trying to remind us, do not forget the teaching of the Buddha. Do not get lost in the world. You should not only know the Dhamma, but you should have penetrated the Dhamma, understood it as much as possible, completely if possible, and your life has changed in accordance with the Dhamma, Anudhamma. The vogue fashion nowadays is we want to change Dhamma. We say, oh, this is useless, this is out of date, and so on. We should change things. We should ignore some of those later teachings, yes, but we cannot ignore the early teachings of the Buddha, the precepts, the meditation. That's what we should be practicing. So this is what Sāriputta is trying to say. Make sure you know all these things when you go out into the country to teach. So here, the Sāriputta plays the role of like a question. I say, okay, these are the questions they will ask. Okay, take for example, in 10.2, what does the Venerable Teacher say of this? What does he teach? What is the answer? Sāriputta says, when you are asked thus, Avuso, you should answer thus. Our teacher Avuso teaches the reading of lustful desire. So here it's a very simple approach. The reading of lustful desire. Negative wishes. When you have answered thus Avuso, there are still those who will question you further. Right, so this part is going to repeat. There are those who question you further. So it's not just answering one question. So the next question is these very curious, wise people will ask, the monks and nuns will ask us if we are practicing Buddhist. In what connection does your teacher teach the reading of lustful desire? When you are asked thus, Avuso, you should answer thus. Our teacher Avuso teaches the reading of lustful desire towards form, right? Towards feeling, towards perception, towards formations, towards consciousness, and towards the 5 aggregates. So here let us recap. The Sāriputta is giving this very simple theme. At least you should know how to answer this question in this way. The Buddha teaches us how to overcome lustful desire, negative desire. Next question, negative desire towards what? Answer, negative desire towards the 5 aggregates: form, feeling, perception, formation, consciousness. Why these 5 aggregates? Because these 5 aggregates basically cover all our whole being, our whole existence, physical and mental. Form, for example, deals with the body, and form can be reflected as the 4 elements: earth, water, fire, wind, our body. Or they can be reflected as our 5 physical senses: eye, ear, nose, tongue, body. Then there is the mind, which are the other 4 aggregates: feeling, perception, formation, consciousness. So we have to understand the nature of our being, in other words, and there's nothing to be desired there. But it doesn't mean we hate them. The meaning here is that we should not have the wrong attitude towards these things. Rather, we should understand what the 5 aggregates are. So here, then Sāriputta goes on and says, okay, what if they ask you a further question? The question is, but seeing what disadvantage does the Venerable Teacher teach reading lustful desires towards form, towards feeling, towards perceptions, towards formation, towards consciousness? In other words, why does the teacher teach this? What is the disadvantage or danger they see in showing desire towards the 5 aggregates? Then the answer should be, if Avuso, one is not free from lust, not free from desire, not free of love, not free of thirst, not free of fever, not free of craving for forms, then when there is change and becoming other in form, there arise sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair. This is the key passage. Okay? So maybe we should highlight this a bit. Always remember, if there are many passages, identify the key passage, reflect on that, and the rest, the other will come in very easily. So here Sāriputta is saying that if we show desire towards form, then when form changes, we will be troubled. Alright? So this is a typical reflection on impermanence actually. But never assume, oh, I heard that one. That is a very unlearned remark. It prevents you from learning. It makes you shut down. The Dharma is to be heard again and again. And one day when you hear it in different ways, you say, oh, I got it. It's like listening to a piece of music. And as you listen to this and you learn music, you know music, you begin to notice the melody and the style, the tone and so on. It's so beautiful. And begin to notice how the music is written. So here, notice there's a string of synonyms here. Lust, desire, love, thirst, fever, craving, right? So these are all mentioned different ways we get caught up with form, with looks and so on. So we can talk a lot about this. For example, we can talk about the impermanence of the body, our health, aging and so on. All these things change over time and we should not be troubled by them. It's the nature of things. Same thing with feelings. Feelings also change, perceptions also change. Formations, the way our karma, body, speech and mind also change. And our consciousness changing all the time. So this is the disadvantage is if we do not see all these five aggregates as being impermanent and changing, and we lust after them, there will be trouble with all kinds of sorrow and pain and so on. And then the next question, Sāriputta says, well, they probably ask you another question. Seeing what advantage does the Venerable teacher teach the reading of lustful desire towards form, feeling, perception, formation and consciousness? In other words, what's the advantage of removing lustful desire towards the five aggregates, towards our existence in body and mind, not to be caught up with it? Here the answer is, if one is free of lust, free of desire, free of love, free of thirst, free of fever, free of craving, free of form, when there is change and becoming other in form, there do not arise sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair. So in other words, here is a kind of de-traumatizing experience. We are reminded all these things change, forms change, feeling change, perception change, and so on. And in that sense, we do not get drawn to them. We do not get caught up with them. We live with them, we use them, and to that extent, they are useful to us. And we understand the nature of change, in other words. When you understand the nature of change, then all these, the five aggregates, begin to not trouble us. We begin to understand the nature of body and mind, and we live happily. Then the first part of the teaching finishes. Then Sāriputta says, also, this section 14, also, if one who attains and dwells in unwholesome states were to dwell happily here and now without vexation, without despair, without fever, and with the bodies breaking out after death could expect a happy destination, the Blessed One would not have praised this abandoning of unwholesome states. Now here's a kind of double negative way of approaching the situation. Sāriputta says, if people do bad stuff and they don't suffer for it, the Buddha wouldn't have gone against it. But it's because doing unwholesome things, including showing so much lustful desire towards the five aggregates, there are unhappy, painful results. So because of that, the Buddha praises the abandoning of unwholesome states. So unwholesome states here means unskillful state. It means the wrong way of looking at our body and mind, the wrong way of understanding our existence. So the right way of understanding our existence is that it is our mind that creates our understanding of what we see outside. And our body is such that it is impermanent, and we have to understand that. So all this has to do with looking within ourselves. We don't look for answers outside of ourselves, looking for some eternal essence or some kind of prime mover or creator. That only compounds the problem, makes it more complicated, or distracts us from the real issues of our life. So here the Sutta closes section 16 and 17 and 18. Also, one who attains and dwells in wholesome states, were to dwell unhappily here and now with vexation, with despair and with fever, and with the bodies breaking up after death, could expect an unhappy destination, the Blessed One would not have praised this attaining of wholesome states. Right, so here again we are using what's called apophatic language. Apophatic means negative language, using no. So here Sāriputta says, I mean, if you live a wholesome life, you keep the precepts, you meditate, and that's not useful, that brings you suffering in the future, the Buddha wouldn't have encouraged this kind of life. In other words, there is benefit in doing good. There is joy in doing good. We do good, but we do wholesome acts because in the future the result will be good too. So if we get caught up with desiring the body, desiring the mind, the five aggregates, we are looking at what we really are and imagining it to be more than what all these five aggregates really are, in other words. So we should see our being as it is. That's the meaning here. Okay? So when we understand our being as it is, meaning it is impermanent, and all the things that constitute our existence, form, feeling, perception, formation and consciousness, they're all changing, they're all becoming other. Then we understand our real being, and we begin to treasure and see all these impermanent tools of our life as being of great value to us, to be used wisely so that we can attain understanding and spiritual awakening in this life itself. So the sutta ends by saying, the Venerable Sāriputta said this. The monks joyfully approve of the Venerable Sāriputta's word. So now let us close this study with a short reflection. Occasionally we need to spend time just looking at any sutta. Just take a sutta, even a short passage, just read through it and see what happens. Sometimes the passage is very easy, we can understand it. Sometimes the passage may be a little difficult and we've got to go on reading it until we understand it. Whichever way, somehow some understanding of the suttas will come to us as long as we keep in touch with the suttas. And when we do that, wisdom will arise in us so that we become self-reliant, independent of others, and we become wise. In that way, we are ready to free ourselves from suffering in this life itself. Reflecting in this way, this wonderful good karma, with the power of such good karma, may we be well and happy in this life itself. May we be empowered with wisdom and courage to aspire to attain spiritual liberation, especially stream winning in this life itself. In this moment of peace, do let us enter the loving kindness to all our loved ones, to all those who have been kind and supportive of us, all those who are practicing the Dharma and teaching the Dharma. May they see the true teaching, may they avoid the wrong teachings. And also to those whom the Dharma have not touched, they may be able to see the Dharma clearly in this life itself. May all beings be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.